Do 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 Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Fun Bunker Film School. I am your host, Chris, and with me is my student today, David. How is it going?
Doing good. Is this detention for almost messing up the Sinners podcast?
It is detention for almost messing up the Sinners podcast. I'm going to force you to talk about stuffy awards season nonsense that nobody likes. No, this is great. This is it's a brothers pod. Hi mom, hi dad. How's it going? Your sons are here. So yeah, we are going to talk about the Oscars. So I wanted to structure this as a kind of a two-part thing. I want to cover why I care about the awards season and why maybe you should too, even if you're not like going to go actually watch the broadcast on Sunday, March 15th this year. Just why, it might be worth paying attention to. And then we'll take some time and we'll talk a little bit about this year's slate at the Oscars. So, David, I guess I can just start. Do you remember watching any Oscar ceremonies like at our house growing up?
Not at our house, no. I think the first Oscars that I distinctly remember watching was the Parasite year,
Oh,
because
okay.
you were hyping it up like as it was going, like Parasite's gonna win. Like this is crazy. This Korean film is going to win. I hadn't seen Parasite yet, but I was like, yes, that's kind of cool. Like this is unusual for this award show. It's so like I tuned in like maybe halfway through the Parasite Oscars. And that was the first one I remember watching. And then I've watched a couple since then, as my mother-in-law is very into award shows, so she
Oh,
always has
sure.
it on.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's funny because I remember watching, it wasn't like I was watching them every year, but I kind of remember like being aware of them as I kind of, started to become like, that kind of like preteen to teenage age. And it was in particularly because of one narrative. And it was I guess it'd be the 2004 Oscars for the 2003 movies, which was the like Lord of the Rings celebration where Return of the King won like a ton of stuff. And by that point, those movies, like, it was obsessed with them. They were on always at every friend's house. Like I remember we had a family friend that like one of the friends like had an uncle who was a pilot and would occasionally have like a layover in like Hong Kong and would find bootleg DVDs of movies that weren't like released yet. It was the first time I'd ever like encountered that. And so he would basically have these like I learned later that they were screeners because they would say like for your consideration at different times at the bottom of the screen. But we totally got to watch like the Two Towers and Return of the King like a month after they had been in theaters or whatever.
I totally
Um,
remember that for the screeners thing. Now that you
yeah,
say
yeah,
that, that rings a bell. Yeah.
it was really funny, and they had the subtitles weren't like correct. I think they were hard coded subtitles, and they like weren't like a great translation. But we were watching the Two Towers and Return of the King like before, like at home before anybody else was. So yeah, it was like watching it at friends' houses. It was like at like youth group, like there'd be like Lord of the Rings nights at youth group, and we had like youth leaders that were like obsessed with it, like and so when Return of the King had its Oscar sweep, I remember cable surfing and ending up on like Entertainment Tonight, and eventually kind of like following that awards race, not really knowing what the other big players were, but wanting Lord of the Rings to take everything as it did. And I think that is kind of why I care about the Oscars a little bit. Not maybe just because of the Lord of the Rings, but because I think that at one point movies were the dominant, Western culture or American art form, and the Oscars, the Academy Awards in particular, were the most prestigious award. And I feel like it's not. They're definitely not an objective thing, but there's something that feels more valid about the Academy Awards to me than something like the Emmys or the Grammys, or I don't, the Game Awards or the ESPYS. You can get really silly with it pretty quick. Um, but they carry like an air of prestige to them, partially because of the kind of movies that I think the Academy had historically nominated. A lot of times they were, they were the much more like adult dramas and period pieces, and movies that kind of presented themselves as important. But the Academy, well before the 90s and like kind of starting, art house cinema starting to like elevate smaller films, they were also like Jaws and Star Wars were like Academy Award nominated movies. It used to be that like the big movies got nominated all the time. And I think that we're starting to see that. We can get into a little bit more about like the modern Academy, but we're starting to see some of that kind of, some of that return. Oppenheimer was a huge hit. Sinners and One Battle After Another were big hits this year, that made lots of money, but are still, uh, very well made, thoughtful movies. So yeah, so I just wanted to kind of set that preamble and set that table for like why I even bother having the awards corner at all in every episode, where I like to point out like, what did the people who make movies that sum up the Academy of Motion Arts and Pictures, uh, like why I care about, when they say something is good, like why I like to pay attention.
And I guess that actually kind of leads into one of the questions I had for this is, and you kind of answered it there, is like, what makes this voting body so much different
Oh,
from
sure.
like some of the other movie specific award shows that have happened? Like we just had the actor awards recently, and then you've got the
Yep.
BAFTAs and things like that. So like,
Yes.
what makes this, like the Academy Award specifically, stick out to you as opposed to those other ones?
Yeah. So, and I should say I'm not a full expert on this, but I'll give my best like understanding. Um, the Academy of Motion Arts and Pictures is kind of like a smorgasbord, or like all the guilds that like all this stuff that it goes into making movies, all of those different like groups of people. So there's like an editing guild, there's a writers guild, there's a directors guild, there is the SAG-AFTRA, which is what the actor awards. They all have their own precursor. Like there are like awards shows that are not always televised, but there are like awards shows for those different groups of people that have a hand in making movies, and then they all then vote at the Academy Awards. So unlike, I'm trying to think, like the Golden Globes, that's actually a really tricky one because that has changed ownership. It used to be the Foreign Hollywood Press Association, that was eventually caught, and was kind of an open secret that they were just corrupt, and they just like to have big parties, and they would like take bribes from big studios, if they wanted a certain kind of push or a certain narrative done. They're changed now. They're now kind of, I feel like, the fun, hip award show. And they've done a good job in recent history with like Nikki Glazer hosting. I'm trying to remember if that's the one, or no, I think John Mulaney hosted the Spirit Awards. I think that's the one he did recently. But like they're bringing in different kinds of people these days. But anyways, so yeah, the Academy. It's kind of like you have all these awards where like the editors give their awards for what their favorite edited movies are, and like all of the actors in SAG-AFTRA, which they all will then go vote on their in their acting categories. but then all of those different bodies then come and they vote in the Academy Awards, but you have actors voting on what was best edited, and editors voting on what was they thought was the best score. So then it kind of becomes a like it's like experts in their fields, but also like they're voting on different parts of the industry that they're close to, but aren't like directly a part of or whatever. So um
But because
you
they're
know
in the industry, probably have like a good decent like appreciation for
yeah,
like how an actor doesn't know exactly everything that goes into the editing process, but they can understand like this
what good
movie was
editing looks
edited
like.
in a
Yes.
way that makes me look good.
Yeah, and sometimes I mean that can get nebulous, like occasionally you have like a weird technical win. I always think about Bohemian Rhapsody winning best editing when that movie just more or less has the most editing. Like it just has so many cuts in it. It's like actually very poorly edited in my opinion. But nevertheless, it has an Oscar. It has a couple Oscars actually. But uh, yeah, so you have all these different voting bodies coming in, and so I mean, I think about other awards that are given out, like um, the Hall of Fame in baseball. We're both baseball fans, and like the Baseball Writers of America is an extremely weird group, and the way they vote, and the way that those ballots and like the mentality of the voting for those awards is so strange, and it's also being done like just by people that are in the Baseball Writers of America. It's not like the players themselves, um same with something like uh I'm trying to think here, like like the NFLPA or whatever would kind of do their own awards, and you see
Yeah.
like different surveys that they take. But that's like just the players, like it'd be like if there was a awards for the NFL that included like the players and also the coaches had a say, and also like GMs and like front office staff, and anybody that actually has a hand in making a football team operate, like had got a chance to vote. And then there's just the history of it too. Like I think that's the other thing that I like about the Oscars is that it dates back really far back into movie history. I don't have off the top of my head when they started, but I believe we're in like are we in the 80s? We're in the 80s, right?
I
No,
think so,
sorry, not the
yeah.
80s. It is the 98th Academy Awards this year.
Wow.
So 2 more years will be 2028. So 1928 is when they started, right? Like before like Hollywood was even really Hollywood. Like
Yeah.
at that point in movie history, like they probably had just started messing around with like sound. They were talkies or whatever, you know. So there's a lot of history there, and there's a lot of kind of fun things about it. I also think that it's also like a capstone of the movie year. We both are a fan of the YouTuber Patrick Willems. And he made a joke recently in his like kind of like he does his own version of award show, and he made a joke that like that like the previous movie year isn't really done until the Oscars are done, and then after that then we can start to talk about all the fun stuff that's coming out, like Hoppers or Send Help and
Yeah.
the 2026 movies.
And so is that kind of why you don't get a lot of like big releases this time of the year as well?
That's partial.
Because they don't want to, studios don't want
Yeah.
to take eyes away from things that they're trying to promote in the final Oscar push.
Yes. I think that that does come into play. It's also famously a time where just like moviegoers aren't going to the theaters as much. But if your movie is if you're a studio and you do think your movie is going to be an awards player, you do tend to show it between like October to December, specifically so that it can be fresh in voters' minds for the award season push, and they can start the campaigning process where you see every actor and director is going to every party in LA, and they are giving 100 interviews a week, and they're showing up on SNL. They're doing everything they can to like keep themselves in the public conscious in the hopes that they can win an award. Um, yes, that was kind of your. What was your original question? I'm trying to think if I actually answered it properly.
Yeah, no, you did. Of just like why
Why they put
have all
movies?
these
Yeah,
different,
movie
yeah.
scheduling. I mean, and it doesn't necessarily mean that like your movie has to release in like October to December in order to win. I mean, Sinners was released like this time last year. Sinners is about a year old. And Parasite was another movie that I think was released in like a February or March. Um, or maybe I'm not thinking this. I actually don't know when Parasite would release. Maybe I'm actually thinking of Everything Everywhere All at Once was a movie that released really early in the year.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I remember that
yeah, it
being
was
like
like
a
a
March,
winter.
April-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, famously January is kind of called Dumpuary, where it just the movies that come out in January are the ones that the studios don't weren't sure if they were going to be able to sell, and it's like, well, maybe we can catch something. We'll put it in Dumpuary. People, it's going to be cold. People, maybe we'll go to the theaters or whatever. Which is funny in contrast to like December when you have all this award stuff, and also like Christmas Day is one of the like top 5 days for box office sales every year.
Which
People are
I've
going to the movies
still
with their
never seen
families.
a movie on Christmas Day.
Oh, I
We
totally have.
almost saw Mary Poppins Returns the year that was
That's
out,
funny.
and then this like we went like early in the morning, and the smell of the popcorn just did not sit well with me, and I ended up like going and losing my breakfast out in the parking lot and just
Oh,
went
that's
home
awful.
instead.
Yeah. Um, I remember very specifically because my wife's family were more likely to do that. They would go out on Thanksgiving or they would go out on like Christmas night. So I remember very specifically seeing Lincoln. Uh, and like, I want to revisit Lincoln because I know it's so beloved. But at the time, I don't think I did not gel at all with what was going on with Lincoln, and I think we were kind of annoyed that it was the one that got chosen. Like we weren't really in the mood for that, and so like we all hated it, which is really funny. Um, and then the other one I remember was like going and like sitting, if not next to, like just like a seat or two away from like my mother-in-law and seeing Django Unchained at a theater in Chicago. Um, and that
Good time, good family time.
yeah, that was like that was really funny. And like and of course like my brother-in-law, like her son, like just like obsessed with it. He loved it, like I loved it too, but it was like such a violent, nasty, mean movie. And like so like over the top, um but yeah, we haven't done it in a few years, but I do love a good like Christmas Day, like all the family goes to the movie theater. It's a good time, Do whatever you do on Christmas, but that's a fun time for sure. I'm trying to think. There was another thing I was going to bring up that is just kind of more generally Oscars related. I talked about like campaigning. Um, I think it was something more to do about like why I value the Oscars. Oh, when I'm talking about campaigning, I think that's the other thing I like about the Oscars over other awards is that uh, the people who make the movies, particularly the actors and directors, really care about it. Like some of them get really, maybe they won't always show it, but it matters to some of them, and they want to win it almost like it's like sports, like it is like
Yeah,
the crowning achievement. There are going to be ones that definitely will tell you that they don't care or whatever, but then there are guys that totally do, like
yeah. Chalamet is very open about
Chalamet,
how much he
Leo.
wants it. Yeah,
Yeah, like the yeah, there's famous clips, when they show all 5 best actor or best actress nominees, and like the way some of them their face drops, because they like were so sure that they were going to win. I've There's a very famous clip um from the year that Jaws was nominated. Steven Spielberg actually had like cameras on him, like almost like documentary style. And I think for some reason he was not it was like he was at, or maybe it was like they were announcing the nominees. He was at home or something, but he was like he was very cocky that he thought Jaws was going to like make it, or maybe Jaws wasn't nominated. Maybe I'm remembering this correctly, and I'm just doing this anecdote terribly. Jaws Oscar nominations.
And while you're
Oh,
looking that up,
it was nominated for 4, and so
okay.
there's just a clip though because I don't believe it did not win. Um, Academy Award for, but like just a famous like clip of him like being very disappointed, like realizing that he had not won it, and that just like crushing him. And he would then go on to make Jurassic Park and Schindler's List in the same year and win the Oscar for Schindler's List. But
It's a pretty decent year. Good grief. I didn't realize those were the same year.
Yeah, 1993. It's insane. And it's not the last time he did that either. He has a few movie years where he would release like 2 movies in the same year. And it was it felt always like that. Like it was like one of them was like his like kind of like E.T. Jurassic Park like sci-fi romp, and then the other one would be like his much more serious like period piece, like a Munich or a Saving Private Ryan kind of thing. So yeah, that's why I care about the Oscars. Maybe you hear all that and you still think it sounds like a bunch of like pompous nonsense and you've never heard of half the movies, but it's why I care about them. So did you have any other questions for that, or
yeah, I mean, I don't, it's something that's definitely been growing on me, and I think that's just because I've started trying to watch more movies and gain a deeper appreciation for them as an art form, not to be, too high and mighty, but
hoity-toity.
Yeah. So that's the main questions I had, kind of like about like the Oscars historically. I feel like we kind of hit that. I've got some like questions about like the different categories. Like,
oh sure.
So I know that, and maybe we'll get into this, but like casting is a new one for this year. And so like, is there a push for other things to get added? Like I know,
oh sure,
you always hear about like the stuntmen deserve an Oscar, or like would there ever be a voice acting Oscar? With
that's an
movies.
Yes, we can kind of get into it. We can start to talk about. Let's do that by talking about like this year's nominees. And I was going to look up specifically. We can talk about maybe your second question first, like stunts Oscars talk, because I'm trying to remember, and I want to say, okay, yes, stunts are coming.
Okay,
so yeah, best casting is they either introduced that. I think that's new to this year, but they're going to include achievement in stunt design, which is like well overdue, and notable that like there was, I think Mission Impossible Final Reckoning won stunt design at the Screen Actor or the Actors.
I was gonna say, can they like go back and retroactively give a bunch of Oscars to the John Wick movies?
Yeah, no, and that's totally like it's a great category. Like I think it's going to be a great category because I got into watching Oscars because of Lord of the Rings. Like when you put big movies, when you put big stars, like on the screen, on the telecast, it gets people interested. Like, and so if you actually award action movies for like what they're good at, like big action movie fans might tune in, or they're going to at least pay attention, and say, oh, hey, look, like, yeah, Mission Impossible finally won, like Oscars and stuff, or John Wick, Mad Max Fury Road could have won another Oscar. He had already won like 100, but like he could have won 101st. So like that, it's an impressive thing as well. There is sort of, I don't know if it's a guild, but there is like a union, or is a camaraderie of these guys that do stunts. I would hope that too, to see stuff that was, and it'll be very interesting. So it's going to start at the 100th Oscars in 2028.
Okay.
For films that are released in 2027. So not movies that come out this year, but in the following year, maybe we're going to get some like totally boss, action stuff. And I'll be very curious as to like what kinds of stuff is nominated and also what wins, depending on if it's a thing where it's something like, is it a Tom Cruise who is doing all of his own stunts? Like, is somebody really like, is some actor really trying to push, through and get something like that done? Or is it, going to be like a, something where the stunt work is praised for the actual like stunt that happened, whether or not you see the actor's face or whatever. So yeah, that's coming. I don't know about a voice acting, but I do think that would be interesting.
Because they do animated film
They
as
do
one of the
animated. Yeah.
Oscars, and it's long and short, right? There's like a
Yep.
animated short.
Yeah. And I feel like if you're going to actually like try and figure out what's like the best voice acting of the year, though, limiting it to movies might be too narrow of a category, given
That's
there's only
fair.
so
Yeah.
many animated films that come out a year, and also the prevalence of quality voice acting and performance capture work that's done in video games. Like, I feel like it would be almost a disservice to not include video game performances, because you and I both know like there's some video game performances that are just incredible,
On par with some of the best acting performances in movies. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Like for whatever you think about the show, like the Last of Us games, like those like just blow me away with how like well their characters are captured and performed and everything. Like they really are trying to be cinematic, or like the God of War games and everything. Like they are really trying to be movies at times.
Yeah. To the point where God of War does the whole one shot
Yeah,
thing.
the game is made to look like it's like a one take movie or whatever. The way the camera moves around and stuff, totally. Okay, so we can lead that into talking about what are the categories. So this year's Oscar, the 2026 Oscars, they are I kind of separate them out. We can do. I guess we can just kind of talk about these. So we talk about the actors first. So the big four acting categories. You have actor and actress in a leading role, and then actor and actress in a supporting role. And these are kind of just like what it is on the tin. There can be what they call category fraud or category manipulation, where somebody that's not in the movie, or somebody that's in the movie for a good chunk of it, like you're trying to suss out like what's a supporting role versus what's a leading role.
Yeah.
That kind of thing can happen. And it can also backfire on people, like the studios get to choose like kind of which race they're going to like campaign them in, and sometimes it backfires on them because there's somebody that comes in last minute, and is a total like powerhouse or whatever. I can kind of talk about too, like what I think about who's going to win some of these.
Yeah, I'd be down for that, because I've
Yeah,
I've done a good amount of homework. Big
yeah, you
ones
might
that
have
I
done more
still
than I
haven't
have.
seen. So I haven't gotten around to Marty Supreme, which I feel is kind of like the biggest one I need to hit up
Hmm.
before the ceremony, and then I haven't seen F1 either.
Okay, yeah,
But
I am still missing Train Dreams. What is it? Train Dreams, and then Hamnet and The Secret Agent from the Best Picture list. And then I also haven't seen some of the stuff that's going to come up here, like Blue Moon, or If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Song Sung Blue. So we can just go down the road. So actor in a leading role. I think this is actually a very, very stacked list this year, and I
mm-hmm.
really have no idea who's going to win it. So you have Timothy Chalamet for Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio in One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke in Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan in Sinners, and Wagner Moura in The Secret Agent. Um, I I mean, and maybe this is just my bias speaking because I haven't seen Blue Moon or The Secret Agent. It feels like it could be Timothy Chalamet for Marty Supreme, or it could be Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, or Leo for One Battle After Another. Like One Battle After Another could also steamroll. Um,
So
my
we talked
Yeah, go ahead.
about sports and their awards. Is there voter fatigue in the Oscars as well?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Sometimes they don't like to, like the vote or they'll be like, oh, this guy already has an Academy Award or whatever. Like one of the things that Blank Check always brings up is that when Rafe Fiennes was nominated for Conclave last year. I think it's Variety does this piece where they get like anonymous quotes from Academy Award voters, and a few people were like, "Oh, I'm not going to vote for Ray Fiennes as much as I liked that performance because he already has an Oscar, but he doesn't." And so it's just like assumed that people, like it's assumed that he has one because he's such a good actor. He's phenomenal. Like I almost think actually he could have been snubbed this year because he for 28 years later. Um, but there's totally like that kind of thinking, that goes on in these awards and the way that the ballots work. I should have done my research. The way that the ballots work for like best pictures, I believe it is a ranked choice voting system. So you are ranking the movies like 1 through 10. And so you might have some people like propping up certain movies like higher than others, or like you also like might have like cannibalization. So like that's like a worry for actor and a supporting, because One
Mm-hmm.
Battle After Another has two nominations there. Yeah, Benicio del Toro and Sean Penn. And so sometimes people are like, well, do they like cannibalize each other? Because some people like one performance, some people like the other, and then everybody ends up voting for Stellan Skarsgård or Delroy Lindo. Like, so yes, there is also, like voter fatigue. Like some people might not vote for Leo because he already has one. Even if, I don't think that The Revenant is like his best movie, um, he finally won that award or whatever. And so it's like, well, maybe he doesn't need another one or whatever. Whereas we could give it to a guy like Timothy Chalamet, who is so young, has been nominated before, but hasn't won. Or wait, did he win last year for?
He, I thought he
Oh shoot,
won.
did he win the Bob Dylan Award? Shoot.
So, is there another Leo on the horizon where like who's the next guy that's going to have to like eat bear liver to win their award
It
finally?
might be Chalamet if he doesn't win this. Let's see. Oh, Complete Unknown. That was the movie. Complete Unknown Awards. Um, he feels the most like he wants to be Leonardo DiCaprio. He has a similar trajectory where he like was a heartthrob, but he has been very picky about who he has been working with and what kinds of roles he has taken, and he very clearly tries to work with the best directors. So let's see here. Does it says nominee, but then does it say if he won? IMDb has gotten terrible. List of awards and nominations received by Timothy Chalamet. This is great content. You can listen to me read Wikipedia. He was only nominated. So he did
Okay.
not win last year. Um,
And so this is kind of one where like it's pretty hard to predict what's going to happen too, because like Michael B. Jordan just won this
he
award at
just won the
the
Actors
yeah.
Award. Yes. And there's all kinds of like if you really want to get into that kind of stuff, I highly recommend listening to The Big Picture at this time of year. The Big Picture podcast. The other one I would recommend is Critical Darlings, which is a newer one that uh, Blank Check is like publishing, but it's not David Sims and Griffin Newman. It's two other writers, like Hollywood writers, that are covering that podcast, and they're covering the awards race, and they follow that kind of stuff a lot closer and understand it a lot deeper. Of like, oh, they won this Gil, and and like the precursors, like people or movies that win these precursors like 6 out of the last 8 times, like get that award or whatever. Or they then win this award or whatever. So that it can be a precursor, but I think Chalamet won the Actors Award last year, but did not win like the best actor in a leading role. So yeah, so so totally up in the air. I am picking Timothy Chalamet, but I actually kind of would love it if Michael B. Jordan won for Sinners. I don't. I love both performances a lot. Marty Supreme is my, I think, second favorite movie of last year. I saw it and it really gelled with me. I really liked it. And it does not work without that performance by Timothy Chalamet. But then again, same with Sinners. Like that movie doesn't really work if Michael B. Jordan isn't as good and charming and distinctive as he is. So yeah. Did you have one you liked in that category?
I feel like I can't really speak on it because I didn't see Marty Supreme, and that's one of the kind of like the bigger ones in there. But I would also love it if Michael B. Jordan won. Like I think that's easily his best work in Sinners there, and
so
just
cool.
the like go listen to our Sinners pod, and we talk about like the difficulty of having to play twins and the rig that he was using and everything. The Leo performance in One Battle After Another was really good. I don't think it was the like heart of the movie. I think there was other performances that I enjoyed more in it.
Okay, sure, yeah, I can buy that. Yeah, it does kind of feel like, even though we're not in the awards body, like it also kind of feels like or it's almost like a default. Like, yeah, it's Leo. Like, of course he's good in the movie. Like,
yeah,
I do really like him in it. But anyways, okay, actor in a supporting role, you have Benicio del Toro, One Battle After Another, Jacob Elordi in Frankenstein, Delroy Lindo in Sinners, Sean Penn, One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård in Sentimental Value. Sean Penn seems to keep winning everything, so it's almost like the opposite of Leo. Like he's already won 2 actor Oscars. He does not seem to be interested in trying to win it. Like it almost feels like he's trying to tank but can't help but keep winning because he keeps winning these awards. That performance is unreal.
That's what I remember. Will always remember from that movie is Colonel Stephen Lockjaw. But
Colonel Lockjaw is nuts. Like that performance is so good and it's so funny and scary. But my favorite is Benicio del Toro in One Battle After Another. Like
couple of beers. He should get a couple of beers award.
He is so he shines. Like he steals every scene that he's in. I love that section of the movie that he's in. Like it's so good, and I like him a lot. I love Benicio del Toro.
Yeah.
At the same time, like Delroy Lindo is like a journeyman guy. Like I would love to see him in that. There's a lot of heat for Stellan Skarsgård because he's another guy that is incredible in everything he's in. Please go watch Andor. Jacob Elordi in Frankenstein is probably the best performance in that movie, and has sold me on Jacob Elordi. I had not seen anything else he had been in. And at the same time, I can talk about it later, but it just was not my favorite, despite loving Guillermo del Toro. So I feel like that has the least amount of juice. Okay. Actress in a leading role. You kind of start to speed through these. Otherwise, this podcast is going to be 3 hours long. Jessie Buckley in Hamnet, Rose Byrne and If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Kate Hudson in Song Sung Blue, Renata, I don't remember how to say her last name, Rainsby for Sentimental Value, and Emma Stone in Begonia. This is, from what I understand, is Jessie Buckley's to lose. Like it's like she is kind of like a lock. She's talk for
very, very good in Hamnet. Like she is the heart of that movie. Like the last hour, anytime she's on screen, I was like starting to like tear up. Like it was that powerful of a performance, especially towards like the last 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. All that being said, I love Rose Byrne and If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Like I thought that was also a very, very strong performance. I saw one letterbox review that was like, this is uncut gems for parents with anxiety.
Sure.
It
Yeah.
was like, yeah, that tracks. So, but I think Jesse Buckley out of the list that I've seen is the one.
Yeah, it feels like, like Hamnet's nominated in more stuff. I'm trying to remember if I had I'd Kick You
I don't
had
think
any
it's in
other.
anything else.
Does it have like a writing? No. Yeah, so it and the supporting, they are interesting because they have two kind of loved movies that only had the one nomination. Um but it feels like, yeah, it's kind of Jesse Buckley in, like, it could be Rose Byrne. Like, there could be a surprise there. There are always are surprises there, but um Kate Hudson's Song Sung Blue is a very, like, classic, like, actress nominee, where she played like a tough woman in, that sings. They always kind of love that. um but I just don't know if that movie was seen enough. The sentimental value one, it's also not like, she's also not my favorite part of that movie either. But it's still, like, vital, and she's good in it. There's nothing to take away from it. And then Emma Stone in Begonia, I really like Begonia.
It's a fun one.
And I like Emma Stone in it. That one does feel a little like just her getting nominated is a little fatiguish, in that it is like her third Oscar nomination, specifically working with Yorgos Lanthimos. And I'm trying to remember which actress it was recently that was joking and saying, like Yorgos, you can work with other actresses besides Emma Stone. um, Great movie, but I not sure if that's the one they award, especially with Jesse Buckley. I feel like
Yeah.
it's going to be Jesse Buckley season. Actress in a supporting role, you have another cannibalization candidate here. You got Elle Fanning in Sentimental Value, and Inga Idsbader Lilias. I don't know
Nailed
their
it. First try.
also in Sentimental Value. Those are also two good performances. I think I like the people like the Inga Idsbader one a little bit more. But then you also have Amy Madigan in Weapons. That's the other one where that's I think the only Weapons nomination. And then Wunmi Masaku for Sinners, and Tiana Taylor for One Battle After Another. I think this one is between those last two. I chose Wunmi Masaku, and it's also my favorite. I know people really like that Tiana Taylor performance. It is rough, but it's like also, she is very, very good in that opening of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to have her, like, be the kind of, like, vixen that she is. But the Wunmi Masaku one, in a movie full of really good supporting performances, like, hers does stand out, and it brings a gravitas and, like, a seriousness to the movie that I was not expecting, like dealing with tougher themes of, like,
Totally. Yeah.
death of a child, and, like, the kind of abandonment that she's feeling from smoke and everything. Like, it's she does a really good job, and so I would love to see that. Okay, now we can kind of go into, I'll call them like the because there's the kind of call them like the below the line, but I want to kind of cover, like, technicals a little bit differently from just, like, other movies or other styles of movies, which is what I'll cover in, like, animated feature, the documentary feature, documentary short, live action short, and animated short, and international feature film. And I'm not going to spend too much time on these because I'm going to be straight with you. Like, I don't know any of the documentaries this year. I don't know the short films this year. Like, sometimes I kind of try and keep an eye on some of that stuff, or there is a big splashy documentary feature. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Go listen to the big picture and hear their opinions on them, because Sean will have seen them all. But animated feature, I think it's notable that, this used to be like the Pixar, like, category, where, like, Pixar just won it every year. and that has not been the case because Pixar's output just has not been as high of quality. Um, uh, and I think that this year it is just good that it's the K-pop Demon Hunters. Like, I think they'd be almost like stupid to not give it to K-pop Demon Hunters just because of how much of a cultural force that movie was. And we'll get to like music original song, but usually, they used to do 5 performances. They would do a performance for every song nominated in original song, and I think were smart this year in both a time cutting effort and also just a like these are the movies that actually have the juice. They're only going to do I Lied to You from Sinners and Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters because people
Sure.
people will tune in for those performances. They will
Yeah.
watch the clip of Golden getting performed on Twitter and TikTok millions of times. Like those are like just guaranteed view generators. So I mean, the only other one that I don't even know if like Zootopia 2 has a chance. Like I'll just be real.
It's a really fun movie, but yeah, like K-pop Demon Hunters like
It's
was just such a cultural
it
movement.
really
Like, I
came
don't know,
out of
like kids
it's a
and
fun it's a good story, like the movie is a good story, but then like the actual production of the movie is also a good story where it was made very quietly. Sony sells it to Netflix, because they aren't sure, if it's going to be a big theatrical thing, and Sony has that kind of relationship with Netflix. Like Mitchell's vs. the Machines was another one they did this with.
yeah.
I really love Mitchell's vs. the Machines, but um you know, K-pop Demon Hunters comes out on Netflix. I don't know if it would have done as well if it had just been in theaters, but because it was on Netflix, it gained an audience, and a word of mouth audience spread very quickly because so many people had access to it. People really liked it. People really liked the music, and it's one of those ones that charts on the radio. And then they do put it out in theaters in like a sing along thing, and it does good like 2-3 day box office numbers. And you had this communal thing of people going to the theaters and singing the songs, which is exciting. So, um, yeah, that's my pick. So I think it's one of the big locks of the night. Um, okay, now we can kind of talk about the crafts categories. So that would be cinematography, costume design, um, live action, or no, sorry, makeup and hairstyling, music original score, music original song, production design, sound, casting, editing, uh, visual effects. We forgot to talk about international feature. Um, I think it's going to be sentimental value. It could be The Secret Agent, but I think it's going to be sentimental value just because it was also nominated for Best Picture. Those are the two that are nominated for Best Picture. I think sentimental value has more staying power. That's what I have to say about that. Okay, so we can go through these crafts categories. Cinematography. This is what the movie looks like. How it was shot, how it was, how things were actually framed, blocked, and that sort of thing. This is a fun category. I don't really have a sense on if there's a heavy favorite or leader. The nominees are Frankenstein, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Train Dreams. I picked Sinners just because I think that what that movie does with its scope is really cool. I think that like it really does well with the color palettes, with what it looks like at night versus like what it looks like at day.
I
It's
personally picked One Battle After Another almost
it's
exclusively for them making a car chase with
oh
no
yeah,
turns in it
it
that
works
like
really well.
intense, and because of how it's shot, and like
Yeah,
when you can see Lockjaw behind his
yeah,
dog.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is really good. Like, I mean, that yeah. The thing I always hear about Train Dreams is its cinematography, and its story too. The acting with Joel Edgerton and everything. But the thing I hear about it is how like kind of like magisterial some of the cinematography is in Train Dreams, and that has me interested in it. So I'd like to check that out. But yeah, Marty Supreme, I also like it. It does a very very good job with how fast paced that story is. Um, Frankenstein, man, like Guillermo del Toro is really, really good with visual stuff. I'd almost think that this would be better in like a production design or visual effects. I don't know. It just looks like the other Del Toro movies, and but it's covering a story that's not original. So this might be this podcast might be like me and like for an hour dunking on Frankenstein, a movie that I thought was good but not great. Um, so costume design, Avatar, Fire and Ash, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, and Sinners. Once again, I would love to see Sinners take something here. I'm not, huge into like what makes good costume design, but those period costumes, like I think they're really cool, and the way those characters look is a part of it.
Separating smoke and stack,
Yeah,
big part of
yeah.
that.
Um, Marty Supreme has got this sweaty '50s New York thing. It's pretty good. I don't actually like Avatar. Actually, is kind of interesting to me because those movies are borderline animated, and so are you awarding like something that somebody drew? Even though they are costumed or whatever, like in animation, but that's an interesting thing to set. I think I actually picked Frankenstein. um I would not be, that is an aspect of it. Like it's very it does the whole Victorian England kind of thing pretty well. I could see it winning something like that. Like, Del Toro does do really well with the craft stuff. So okay, makeup and hairstyling. I also This is the one that I actually think Frankenstein is the best at. Um, and it's kind of a combination, like production design and makeup and hairstyling kind of award in my mind. Like, um, some of the makeup work, not just done on Frankenstein's monster, but done on like all of his kind of like rough draft stuff in the movie, is really really cool. Um, but then you also have a movie called Kuo, Sinners. You have The Smashing Machine, and a movie called The Ugly Stepsister. So I have no idea. Maybe it'll just go to Sinners. The Sinners was nominated for 16 awards. Like, it's bound to win something. Um, Music original score. So you have what is it? Jerskin Fendrix for Begonia, Alexandra Desplat for Frankenstein, Max Richter for Hamnet, Johnny Greenwood of Radiohead fame for One Battle After Another, and Ludwig Göransson for Sinners. I picked Ludwig Göransson of those nominees for Sinners. Of those nominees, my favorite is actually the One Battle After Another, but that just could be because Radiohead's my favorite band. But my actual favorite of the year was the Marty Supreme soundtrack, which was done by, I don't remember his name, but he is the guy behind Oniotrix Point Never. The Marty Supreme soundtrack, it's an electronic soundtrack. And for some reason, the Academy is like allergic to these, like more electronic soundtracks, which is a massive bummer because I think that they can be some of the best scores. Like, my favorite score of all time is for The Social Network. That is an electronic soundtrack. There's a lot of to do made because they did this. Was it last year or 2 years ago? Whenever Challengers came out, that also had like a very electronic soundtrack that I believe might have also been a Trent Reznor one, and it was not nominated, even though it is like a thumping like heartbeat of that movie, and the movie would be very different if it just had a bunch of like strings, and horns.
Yeah. So
So yeah.
I really liked the Hamnet
Okay.
score. I did later learn that like one of the songs that's played at the end is like a slightly altered version of what was the name of it? On the Nature of Daylight, which is like a very popular piece. I learned
Oh,
that when I was listening to
yes.
the Big Picture. So I don't know if that knocks it down in this
I don't know.
category or not, but like whenever I hear that piece of music, like I'm going to think of the last particular scene of that movie, and like it's
Sure.
just such a emotion. It does
It
a
works. It
yeah
it it gives you, it provides the gut punch or whatever the feeling is. That's huge. I think the best music in movies is uh not as noticeable at times, and then is noticeable when it needs to be, when it really needs to accentuate something, and when it really needs to punch through. Um, I don't remember much of the Frankenstein soundtrack. The Begonia soundtrack is memorable. That movie is awesome. But yeah, Justice for Marty Supreme. Music original song. So kind of talked about this earlier. The other nominees are Dear Me for Diane Warren, Relentless, Sweet Dreams of Joy from Viva Verdi, and then Train Dreams from the movie Train Dreams. Um, my favorite is personally I Lied to You. I love the dream ballet sequence in that movie that is a part of it. That part in the movie rocks. But it's going to be Golden. I
yeah
think they would, once again, they would be fools to not give it to Golden. Like, that's just, it
just
it charted. Like, it's kind of funny. Like, the last time I think I can think of a movie where the soundtrack was like this huge. I'm thinking of the year Encanto was around, and
yeah,
when
we don't
Encanto
talk
was
about Bruno
nominated,
and
they so that I think that the way it works is like the studio has to submit what they think are going to be, and they don't want to cannibalize themselves with the voting into the short lists. So they might like submit what they think is going to be like the standout song or whatever. And Disney submitted like what is it's like the ballad song from that movie. Like the one that plays like when
Waiting on a Miracle.
maybe shoot, I'd have to look it up. It's not uh we don't talk about Bruno though. Like that's the real, what I'm really trying to get at is they had no idea how big, we don't talk about Bruno was going to be. And they played it at that year's Oscars. Like they played that even though it was like not nominated. And I think that if they had properly, you know, read their own tea leaves and nominated We Don't Talk About Bruno, it could have been what like Golden is getting now. But Golden is a bigger song than We Don't Talk About Bruno. Like Encanto was a big but still, like mostly family focused Disney movie or whatever. Like Golden's just everywhere, and it's now firmly in the TikTok era where like it just showed up everywhere you looked, on around every corner. It was on every radio station.
I felt
um,
like I had heard that entire soundtrack through TikTok before I actually watched the movie.
absolutely. So congrats to Golden in advance. Congrats to K-pop Demon Hunters. Congrats to Sony Pictures.
Really looking forward to seeing I Lied to You perform live, though.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah, I'm excited to see that. Okay, production design. So this is what production design is. Maybe I should be doing a better job explaining some of these. Some of them, like costume design, makeup, and hairstyling, kind of explain themselves. But so production design is the stuff that is crafted for the movie in terms of like sets and props and how they dress locations. Did they make a giant ship for the movie Titanic? It's that kind of stuff. So I really like good production design, because good production design can really sell you on the setting and like where you're living in the movie. So this year's nominees, you got Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, and Sinners. I once again picked Sinners, and that was my favorite of these of the production design. There's a lot of fun stuff in Marty Supreme. There's a lot of fun stuff in Frankenstein, a lot of just like random body parts in Frankenstein's lab where you're just like, oh man, that's nasty. But also kind of beautiful in the way the human body is kind of nasty and beautiful. One Battle After Another like goes all kinds of places. But I think about Sinners, and I think about the way they dress Clarksdale, Mississippi, and the like all of the their drive through the cotton fields and the actual club juke, like the juke joint itself. all of that kind of stuff is so good, and I can picture it perfectly in my mind, which is a credit to its cinematography and its production design, in my opinion. So, did you have any? Did you think differently?
Nope. Yeah, Sinners by far. Yeah,
Yeah,
some cool stuff in Hamnet once again, but not on Sinners level.
yeah, yeah. Okay, film editing. Um, so film editing is this is the hardest one for me to describe because I don't think I fully have a good handle on like what makes a well edited movie versus what doesn't. I would actually point you to a YouTube video, by Every Frame a Painting, specifically on like what makes good editing, because they will show you an example of how a scene feels depending on at what point the scene is cut, like at what point you actually see a cut in the movie. But good editing, lends itself to good pacing. Sometimes it's easier to spot, like bad editing, like if there's a fight scene, and they're trying to hide a bunch of the, punches because the actors weren't really hitting each other, they might cut to a different shot, right as like the punch is going to land. Because, like they're trying to kind of trick you and not show their seams as much or whatever. There's a really funny clip from one of the Taken sequels
I was just thinking
where
about that.
Liam Neeson jumps over a fence and the camera cuts like 16 times of it's just him. He's just jumping over a fence, like, you've seen in 100 Bourne movies or James Bond movies, but like the camera cuts like 80 times. It's insane. So I picked Sinners for this. The nominees rather are F1, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. Um, I picked Sinners, but I think Marty Supreme and the way it is paced, is awesome and is one of the reasons I love, Josh Safdie's movies. I almost said the Safdie brothers, but that's just Josh Safdie. So yeah, that's what I picked. Did you have any sense of, or did you have any idea as to what to pick here, or just kind of?
I picked Sinners as well, just because I like that one. I haven't seen F1 yet, but knowing me, I love a good race scene.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like if I watch that and the race scenes like really get me, the way that I know they can, because like this is the guy that worked on Top Gun Maverick, and I love the way
yep,
that all of those scenes were edited. I could see myself rooting for that one,
yeah.
but I've loved Sinners, and it's that thing that you were talking about where you don't think about it because it all happened like so smoothly with
Yeah,
one
yeah,
of the
for
edits.
sure.
So
I have F1 will come up again in another category, and I'll be more complimentary to it than I was Sinners, even though I liked F1 as a film less. um, so then we go to actually, it's coming up now. Sound. So sound used to be split into sound mixing and sound, editing. Um, Sound mixing being like, how well certain elements of the film, are mixed, in the movie. Can is the dialogue way too muffled, or like, do you actually notice like background sounds that the team wanted you to hear in the film, versus like editing being how it's actually like cut together. um they've now that's just too confusing. They've just combined it into one sound category. I'm sure at the behest of the, uh, audio guilds and unions. Um, but for sound, the nominees are F1, Frankenstein, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Surat, which is, one of the international features. Um, so I picked Sinners. That movie's sound is incredible, and I think
mhm.
about like the little like bat flutters that you hear right before like you first see Remick and he lands, at the house of the vampires, the people he's going to turn into vampires or whatever. And just like the sounds of the club juke when it's burning, or even when it's just, like the party sequence or whatever. It's
Yeah.
really good. That's the one I picked for that, I think is going to win. I actually listed F1 as my favorite because the cars go vroom really loud, and it's really cool. And
And we
like,
are our dad's son, and
yeah,
he taught
yeah,
us to
it's
appreciate loud cars.
yeah. I think that movie is a to steal a term from Blank Check, a gentleman 6 out of 10. It's perfectly fine. I think that there are things about it that are super ridiculous. But the as you kind of like you were like, I bet I'd like the editing in this, like because I bet the race scenes are really good, because it's came from Joseph Kosinski. Like as advertised, like they're really good. Like the car racing stuff is awesome. And if the sound wasn't as loud and ferocious, like it wouldn't be the same. So yeah. Did you have anything different, or did you really like the sound in one battle after another?
No, yeah, I mean, I did, but
I
yeah,
was trying to think.
Sinners.
Actually, is there a sound in one battle after another that like I really remember? Like, I think maybe just like the part where he falls off the building. That happens so suddenly,
Yeah,
and like the sound of him like crashing and then getting tased was so funny. Um, but yeah,
the car chase sequence is done pretty well, but like I'm
yeah,
sure
that's
like
true
trying to put that up against the car sounds of F1, where
for
like
sure.
that's one of the main things it's going for.
Yeah. Okay, and then visual effects. This used to be it still kind of is like one of my favorite categories. Like, I mean, I just love a big spectacle, and I'm really interested in special effects, whether it be, practical or computer generated. CGI gets a bad rap, but good CGI can be really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the nominees: Avatar, Fire and Ash, F1, Jurassic World Rebirth, The Lost Bus. I don't even know what that is. And then Sinners. I chose Sinners. Has my favorite visual effects of the year. I don't know how they did the thing where um, Michael B. Jordan like hands his own like twin character a cigarette, like, and it looks completely real. I know it's like body, like, like I know it's body
Yeah,
doubles, and I know that they mapped his face onto the other one, but it looks so seamless, and it's like
it's
things like that in that movie
it's really
really
impressive
work.
and
Yeah,
all that. But Jurassic World Rebirth, bad movie, but you really feel like Jonathan Bailey is there with that dinosaur.
there
So
you go. Yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, honestly, this could just be. I feel like the reception for Avatar: Fire and Ash is just not what I think they were really hoping for. Those are honestly are like the best looking movies. I almost thought about picking that one, but I just feel like people are kind of done with Avatar, including the Academy. But like it's insane to me that movies can have bad visual effects as bad as they are in the 2020s, and then if you go and watch Avatar: The Way of Water, or you go watch Avatar: Fire and Ash, even on like your phone, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, like how did they get something that looks like this, like incredible? It looks like it's a real thing, but it's totally not. It's weird aliens and weird creatures or whatever. Um, those movies look phenomenal. Like much less if you saw them like in a theater, in an IMAX theater, or if you see them on a big 4K screen. Like those movies really do look incredible. And I really hope that James Cameron doesn't make any more Avatar movies. I wanted to go make something else. Like, cause he still clearly has it. Like he's awesome. Okay. Now these are the next awards are going to be the ones I kind of call like, I think these are the actual cool awards before we get to Best Picture. And that would be directing, writing adapted screenplay, and writing original screenplay. I feel like these have the most say in whether a movie is really good or not.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes director can be like the award that they give when there is a close two-man race. Like sometimes it feels like they almost give the director like a consolation prize. Like to cover like another movie we've done on the podcast, like La La Land. Damien Chazelle wins best director, but then Moonlight wins best picture. That was like the narrative, like that entire award season. You see this a bunch of different times, but for that reason, actually, so we've got Chloe Zhao for Hamnet, Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, Joachim Trier, Sentimental Value, Ryan Coogler, Sinners. Literally not a bad nomination here. They're all like phenomenal directors. Um, they all really deserve it. I'm trying to think. I don't think any of these guys have a best director award either. Like I think it would be a first time win for any of these guys.
Did Zhao not win for the
Oh, duh. She
Nomadland?
probably won Nomadland, didn't she? Chloe Zhao, Nomadland, Oscars. Let's see here.
Or was that a year where they gave it to
the
someone else?
Yeah, she was the first woman to ever win Best Director too. So she has won one already. So I guess you're right. That's kind of funny that she's like kind of a leader. But it's not like any of these guys are like that old or journeyman either. I mean, like Paul Thomas, like One Battle After Another's is like ninth or 10th movie or something like that. But like Josh Safdie and Ryan Coogler are both relatively young and have only made a handful of movies, even though they're very good. For that kind of like consolation prize element, I've picked Ryan Coogler for Sinners. Even though I could also see PTA taking both director and best picture. I think, spoiler, when we get to best picture, I think it's going to be One Battle After Another. But man, like Sinners is so like he just did such a phenomenal job. He's also been campaigning hard. He's like showed up on like Amy Poehler's podcast and he is making the rounds. And I think it would be really cool to see him take it. And
yeah,
he's my pick. Like it's a coin flip. I loved both Sinners and One Battle After Another so much, and they are movies that I think are in conversation with one another in terms of their themes. But I'll just give this slight edge to Ryan Coogler. I've been so impressed with everything he's done. Whereas like not all PTA movies are my cup of tea. You're not awarding like their past body of work, but
the narrative gets brought in.
Yeah. I think this is Coogler's best movie, and I would love to see him like get rewarded for it. Outside of everything that it's all the money it's made and like how beloved it is.
Yeah,
it would be really cool to see him take home some hardware.
I'm on board for that.
Yeah. Okay. Writing adapted and writing original. So, if writing adapted screenplay, the adapted means that it was adapted from some other work. Sometimes this can get a little bit muddy, but you've got here Begonia, which was a remake of another movie. I'm trying to remember what country, like a French movie or something. I probably got that wrong. You got Frankenstein, obviously based off the Mary Shelley novel. Hamnet, based off of the Hamnet book, which is then about Hamlet, the writing of Hamlet by William Shakespeare. You've got One Battle After Another, which is loosely adapted from like Vineland and Train Dreams, which I believe is also off a book. I picked One Battle After Another here, but I could also see it going to Hamnet. I feel like those are going to be the front runners there. This is like the less cool award, like writing original screenplay. I feel like is like this is the one we give to the cool movie, but I don't know. I feel like just the screenplay for One Battle After Another is a beautiful like thing, and it's what makes that movie work. There's so many things about it that like some people have like likened, pointed out how it almost has a similar plot structure to Star Wars. And like it's they're hunting down, they're trying to find to get this girl back, and they come across all of these little factions along the way, and the whole parentage like aspect, like
so I don't know if this factors into this one as well, but I was talking to our friend Jersey, who he always makes a point of like reading the book if there's a book before he goes and sees the movie, and he said that they changed like quite a bit
Oh yeah.
to get it to work for a movie. And so like does that editing process, I guess for lack of a better word, to get it to work in a different
Yes,
medium count?
I think it should, and I wish it was more the case because I think there's times where the actual adaptation, like the work of the adaptation, is like one of the more impressive things about it. Like I'm trying to remember what won the Parasite year. Look that up. 2019. Uh, what would this be? Best adapted screenplay. Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay. The 2010s. Okay, so Jojo Rabbit won,
Okay.
but it was against Little Women, Greta Gerwig's adaptation of the Louisa May Alcott novel. That is like insane to me because the thing that works the best about Little Women is that it adapts this old book, this book that has been adapted before into movies and TV variations, and it stays true to the book while also like the things that it adds or changes or the things it focuses on are also everything that uh Greta Gerwig is interested, and it makes it like wholly her thing, and has her ideas about like love and ambition and like desire, like all of those things are in it, while also still being like an adaptation of little, like it is like such a good adaptation of a book that makes that movie work. Um,
Yeah.
you know, I'm trying to think. Uh, it's funny because then she gets nominated for Barbie years later, and it's an adaptation of the Barbie dolls. It's like,
So they can play pretty loose with that. So this,
yeah, yeah.
I
But
know we're talking about this year's Oscars, but this one's going to be pretty loaded next year. You're going to have Odyssey, Dune Messiah, and Project Hail Mary are all already
those are
being
all
talked
adapted
about.
works. Yeah, and they're all potentially in play depending on how those movies are received for sure. So yes, I'd agree. So okay, I picked one battle after another. That was my
Yep.
favorite. Moving on. Writing original screenplay. This is the cool one. This is like when Tarantino wins for Pulp Fiction. Like it's like the one that they give to the movie that is like actually cool. So we got Blue Moon. It was just an accident. Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. I haven't seen Blue Moon or It Was Just an Accident. What I understand about those movies is that like that that their screenplay is part of what shines. Particularly, It Was Just an Accident and how it balances tones. And that guy's story is also really cool. I apologize, I don't remember his name, but he's a guy that like would make movies that were almost like documentaries, but they were like, like he would make them when he was like banned from his country from making films and stuff. But he would like kind of find these loopholes and basically make like movies illegally. Like he's kind of like a punk rock guy. It's kind of crazy. But all that to say, out of Marty Supreme's Sentimental Value and Sinners, I'm actually picking Marty Supreme here. It's a sports movie that is about this like table tennis, this guy that like wants to be the best in the world at table tennis, uh but it is also this romp through 1950s New York, and um is a really well done movie like about being in your 20s, but then also I will not spoil it here, but the way it resolves, like the ending, and it's like the ending, it's like the last shot really like sealed the film for me so well. Like I was already really loving it, like maybe a 4.5 star movie, and like the last shot like sealed it for me that it was like a 5 star, like one of the best movies of the year. It's really really good. I can't oversell how good it was. Did you, now I know you hadn't seen that yet, did you like I guess Sinners was the one you'd seen there? Did you just kind of
Yeah,
pick
Sinners is
Sinners?
the only one I've actually seen from this list, so by default
which is
Sinners, but yeah.
which is also an amazing screenplay and does all the best the things that the best Kugler screenplays do, where it balances all of these ideas that you hold in tandem. Like uh, it's like all the best stuff in Black Panther. Where you're like, oh, actually, like Killmonger has some interesting points here, and like maybe the Wakandans are not actually acting in the best interests of the people of the world. Like like all of that kind of stuff. Like those ideas and everything, they show up in Sinners really well too, and they have a
Yeah.
lot of thorny ideas and stuff that are presented in a really cool and natural way. Okay, best picture. So um, I have kind of like ranked my. I'll give my ranking, and then kind of like I guess if you want to give your ranking for what you've seen, we can do that too. And then what I'd like to do is almost be like, this is probably going to come out like there's not going to, a little over a week until the Oscars actually happen. If you haven't seen any of these, this would be like what I'd like say is your priority list for watching them. But okay, so of the ones I've seen, I haven't seen Hamnet, Secret Agent, and Train Dreams. My number 7 in this list is F1. Number 6, Frankenstein. Number 5, and those are the ones I'm like the lowest on. The top 5 I think are all awesome. Sentimental Value at 5, Begonia at 4, Sinners at 3, Marty Supreme at 2, One Battle After Another at 1, and I do think that it is going to win Best Picture.
All right. Yeah. So I've seen less of the Best Picture noms. I haven't seen F1, Frankenstein, Marty Supreme, Secret Agent, or Train Dreams, or Sentimental Value. But out of the 4 that I have watched, I have at 4 Hamnet. I really enjoyed it. I think its first hour is a little bit rough, but once you get past that, it really picks up. But it's a pretty slow start. And then Begonia at 3, Sinners at 2, One Battle After Another at 1 for what I think is going to win. But personally, I like Sinners more than One Battle After Another.
I love it. I love it.
Marty Supreme is probably the one that when I get around to watching it would be slotted somewhere in that top 3.
Yeah. If it clicks with you, yeah. I mean, it very well could. I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts on it. If you after you see it. So with this in mind, I'd say, Oscars are like a week away. You've made it an hour and 21 minutes into a podcast talking about them. Maybe instead of doing that, you could take, another hour or so and watch one of these movies. I would say One Battle After Another and Sinners. You could flip a coin, watch at least one of those before going into this Oscars, as they are probably going to win the most awards if I had to guess. Sinners had a record number of nominations. It's got a ton of crafts love. It's got a bunch of acting performances that are great. One Battle After Another is just, it's a great summation of everything that is great in PTA's work. We've covered There Will Be Blood on this pod before. One Battle After Another has a little bit of There Will Be Blood in it, but it also has a little bit of like Boogie Nights and Magnolia, and then Punch Drunk Love, like The Master. It has like elements of all of his movies are in this in a really cool package, and it's a extremely entertaining, original adult drama slash thriller slash comedy. Like it is just a very cool modern movie too, that is also paying a lot of homage to a lot of movies that are made in the 70s that PTA is obsessed with. So very cool stuff. After that, I think that if you've seen those and you want to check out something else that might be a heavy hitter here, I mean, I would point you to Marty Supreme, but I think like Hamnet as well is a potential big player here. Sentimental Value is another one. You also, in Sentimental Value, you get, a great international feature film. Joachim Trier is a very hot director right now. Let's see what else here. you have all these other Best Picture nominations. The Secret Agent is beloved, I know. Um, I think Begonia is really cool. Some people, like other Yorgos Lanthimos movies more. Um,
Whereas like
it's
this is the one that I like.
yeah, it's the one that clicked for me. Like it's like I was not a fan of Poor Things. I have not just seen all of his other stuff, but I thought Begonia was extremely entertaining. And is it was also funny at times and like scary at others, and like the ending to that movie like had my jaw on the floor. I was just like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
um uh F1, the cars go really fast, man. And Brad Pitt's really handsome and charismatic. He's doing the thing that he's good at. Um Frankenstein, instead of watching Frankenstein, you should just go watch Nightmare Alley. Because nobody watched Nightmare Alley, and Nightmare Alley is awesome, and should have like gotten more attention. But it also kind of came out during COVID season. But yeah, um, yeah, those are the ones I feel like the most qualified to talk about here. I don't want to get too much into like snubs and that kind of thing. I do like 28 Years Later is a movie that was not nominated anywhere here that did have some of my favorite stuff of the year. Like if 28 Years Later was, in original screenplay or production design, visual effects, if either Jodie Comer or Ray Fiennes were nominated for award, acting awards, like I think it's all deserving. That movie is awesome. And way better than I thought it was going to be for a legacy sequel that came out years and years and years after the original.
Yeah. I'd say the one snub that I do want to call out is I actually think one of my favorite performances of the year was Josh O'Connor in Wake Up Dead Man, the third Knives Out
Oh,
movie.
sure. Yeah. I still
So
haven't seen that.
very, very good performance in that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I do need to check that out. That's the other thing that's kind of fun is like this season, like you get to kind of catch up on all of this stuff that gets brought up, and movies that you might not have otherwise seen. Like I don't know if I would have queued into Sentimental Value. I don't know if I would have queued into some of these other
It's
ones.
Begonia
Like,
for me. Like I don't think
oh sure, yeah,
I
yeah.
kind of like checked out on Yuri
The
stuff and
Yorgos Lanthimos, yeah.
Yeah.
The Secret Agent wouldn't even be on my radar, but I'm interested in it because it's here in Best Picture. So once again, the power of the Oscars. So yeah. Anyways, next on the pod, we're going to be covering another movie that I think should have won every Oscar it would have been eligible for, and that is Hot Rod. So we'll see you next time.
Phenomenal movie. Can't wait.
Yes. See ya.
Bye.